You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump just declared these parts of America are outside the Constitution based on an article by Tom Hartman. Papers, Please, American edition. Control is a policy. This story is not about immigration in any meaningful democratic sense. It is about who gets to stop whom, demand documents, and decide who belongs on the street, in a car or in a courthouse hallway. The reported facts are plain. ICD is operating interior checkpoints using the 100-mile enforcement zone, paying state and local police to help, and expanding the machinery of surveillance far beyond actual border crossings. The people in charge. The institutional chain is not mysterious. Trump and his officials want the power. ICD is in operation on the Supreme Court, including the recent ruling that greenlit staffs based on race, language, work, and neighborhood has widened the aperture. Congress has funded the buildup. Local police departments have taken the money. That is the actual structure: executive appetite, judicial permission, legislative cash, and municipal cooperation. Immigration is the cover story. Calling this immigration enforcement is misdirection. The reported conduct goes after domestic travelers, workers, passengers, protesters, and even people outside the immigration system entirely. A construction worker gets waved over for traffic matter and suddenly ICD surrounds the truck. A non-inhabited gets handcuffed and disappear into detention. This is not careful border administration. It is discretionary street power aimed at creating submission. The money explains the behavior. Follow the incentives and the moral language falls apart. ICD is paying local agencies enormous sums, including millions in Florida, to turn ordinary police infrastructure into an extension of federal immigration dragon. Once departments get rewarded for participation, they stop being neutral law enforcers and become contractors in a federal suspicion regime. That is corruption by design, not a side effect. The historical pattern is the point. The article rightly places these checkpoints in a long American lineage: slave passes, slave patrols, black codes, vacancy laws, the Chinese certificate of residence, apostate passbooks, Soviet internal passports. The lesson is not that America is like those systems in some vague aesthetic sense. The lesson is that states use document checks to sort people into those who can move freely and those who must constantly justify their presence. The target changes. The technique does not. Abolish the machine. ICD is not drifting off course. It is doing what coercive bureaucracies do when politicians feed them money, courts excuse them, and media coverage treats escalating abuse as a procedural dispute. Reform rhetoric is a stall tactic. Training, oversight, and accountability do not fix an agency built to normalize interior policing, surveillance, and anonymous arrest. If the country is serious about democracy, ICD has to be abolished, not humanized. The real warning. The deeper danger is not that the checkpoint exists at the edge of the country. It is that the state is teaching everyone inside it to live as though movement is a privilege and identity is something you must prove on demand. Once that logic takes hold, citizenship stops meaning equal liberty and starts meaning conditional permission. That is the system being built, not a border policy, but a discipline regime. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Raw Story for today's article, with the automated voice of Diana. Thanks for listening.